Okay, well, everybody pops in. I will get the live stream going.
Thank you so much, Christine. And as people are joining, we have a kind of a fun trivia question for people today. So we'll put that in the chat. It has to do with Iowa's counties and the origins of the names of Iowa's counties. And only a few were named after females. Which Iowa county was named after a Swedish feminist writer? So put your guess into the chat. We want to get as many guesses as we possibly can. So have a fun one today. We might even have someone from that county who might be able to chip in the answer right away. We'll see. So
Everybody, give us your guesses. Let's make sure the chat is working. Beth Hoffman says Monroe County. Per my Google results earlier, this person was considered the Swedish Jane Austen. So I thought that was very exciting.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, everybody.
The rules are no Googling until after you've submitted a guess.
I think that's the unofficial rule, isn't it, John?
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll have a trivia question where we encourage people to Google, and we'll have a little Google contest who can find the answer fastest. But this one is a good one to see who might have this answer. So.
Okay, folks, keep guessing in the chat, make more guesses. So I am recording. We are also live streaming on IFU's Facebook page. So you can go and share today's discussion with Anna and John right now and afterwards. It will be there on IFU's Facebook page, and I will post it later today to IFU's YouTube page if you're not a Facebook user. Okay, Aaron, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Well, very good. Well, welcome everyone. This is the Iowa Farmers Union Lunch and Learn, and we are so grateful to be joined today from two of our farmers, Anna Pesek of Over the Moon Farm in Delaware County and John Hogeland of Whippoorwill Creek Farm in Lovilia. So welcome, John. Welcome, Anna. It's great to have you here.
Thanks so much.
Glad to be here.
We are going to have a great discussion about the National Farmers Union fly-in and the Iowa Farmers Union delegation that we sent to meet with lawmakers and federal agencies. Before we get into our discussion today, I just wanted to remind people of a couple of upcoming Farmers Union events that we want you to put on your calendar and to learn more about and sign up for. The Iowa Farmers Union Convention is going to be taking place in Ames on December 5th and 6th. And we've got a great set of speakers, a wonderful lineup of activities going on. The Farmers Union Convention is the annual event that brings together all of our members. We talk about the issues that are important to our communities and to our farms. We learn all those important things to take back to our communities and farms. We also elect our leadership for the coming year, and we set the policy for the coming year. So it's so important for us to gather together and in this very, very challenging time for Iowa agriculture and Iowa family farmers. So learn all about it. Iowa Farmers Union Annual Convention, December 5th and 6th. You're going to be getting all sorts of information in your inbox and in other places. So but mark your calendar now to join us in Ames, December 5th and 6th. I also want to remind people about the National Farmers Union Women's Conference. It takes place in Louisville, Kentucky, November 8th through 10th. And that is going to be, again, in Louisville. It's a fantastic event, bringing people from all over the country. It's a fantastic learning environment, a gathering environment. If you are interested, the link to the event is in our chat, and we are very happy to see that we have a good Iowa group going. And of course, we want to try to help people get to Louisville for that super event. So learn more all about it. Before we go any further, though, let's jump back into our discussion today about the Iowa Farmers Union delegation that went to Washington, D.C. for the National Farmers Union fly-in. Oh, I'm getting a note that I have not revealed the trivia question answer yet. I am so sorry about that. Bremer County. Bremer County was the Iowa county named after a Swedish feminist writer, Sylvia Bremer, who we know that Christina noted was named after Fredrika Bremer, the Swedish feminist writer, who is largely considered the Jane Austen of Sweden. So very interesting. But before we go any further, let's turn to our discussion about the National Farmers Union fly-in and our Iowa delegation that we sent to Washington. This was a record number of Iowa Farmers Union members who traveled to the fly-in, the largest delegation in more than 25 years. We met with lawmakers and federal agencies to raise awareness about the challenges facing family farmers, from the Farm Bill and conservation programs to farmer stress, disaster relief, and local access to local food markets. And we are so grateful to be joined today by two of our farmers, Anna Pesek of Over the Moon Farms in Delaware County and John Hogeland of Whippoorwill Creek Farm in Lovilia. They both participated in the fly-in, and we'll talk about their experiences and the issues that they raised when we were there. So it's very nice to see you, Anna. It's very nice to see you, John. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Anna, tell us about your farm before we get any further, though, and tell us about your work in the food system here in Iowa.
Yeah, so thank you, Aaron. My name is Anna Pesek. Like Aaron said, I co-own Over the Moon Farm. We're located in rural Delaware County. So I'm about 45 minutes straight north of the Cedar Rapids area, for those of us who are familiar with the region. My farm, we've been around since 2019. So we're just going on 6 years of business. I identify as a young and beginning farmer. We raise farrow to finish Berkshire pork. We have about 20 or so sows, and then we're finishing out all those feeder pigs that we are selling all into the direct-to-consumer market. We also raise pastured poultry. So we're raising chickens, turkeys, and ducks. And we're also selling all of them into the direct-to-consumer market. We are raising somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 birds, although this year we did a little bit less because of a loss of market access when the local food purchasing assistance program was defunded in March of 2025. And then we also partner with other farmers. So we're partnering with a farm just about 25 minutes away from us, and they're raising some poultry as well for the Over the Moon brand, also pasture-raised poultry in the same methods we are. And then we're also partnering with other young and beginning farmers in central Iowa to sell pasture-raised beef, and then partnering with another farmer who's raising some lamb for us. So our goal has really been to work on building a resilient business that supports not only ourselves and our community, but hopefully can support more than that, and can have more supply chain wide impacts moving forward. And so for me, like I said, we lost a pretty substantial amount of market access when the local food purchasing assistance program and local food for schools program lost its funding in March of 2025. We had been selling through that program since its inception, a range of our products, and working with food hubs throughout the state to get our products into food pantries, schools, childcare centers, doing direct distribution, all of the above. And so I was really excited as an Iowa Farmers Union member to fly to DC and speak to my representatives specifically about that program, as well as the other challenges we're facing, especially after a spring of spending a lot of time being in close communications with many of my own representatives and our USDA, et cetera, trying to keep the story out there and share like the personal impact of what that loss of funding has meant for our farm. So that is the quick answer of who I am and who Over the Moon is.
Excellent. John, tell us about your farm and your work.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to say, Anna, that's a great elevator pitch. It's, you're way ahead of me. But anyway, so my name's John Hogeland. Uh, my wife, Beth Hoffman, and I farm Whippoorwill Creek Farm in Monroe County, uh, down near Lovilia. I'm the fifth generation farmer, farming about 600 acres. We do grass-fed, grass-finished cattle and forest-raised goats. We also, in my former life, I was a chef and a butcher, and we have a building on our farm where we teach classes, a lot of cooking classes. My wife Beth is a writer; she does writing retreats, things like that, and it's all geared around building community and building, hopefully, building more interest in better food
Mm.
and trying to bring in a clientele that we can speak to about what is important to us and why we're part of the farmers union, because our goals really align strongly with the Iowa Farmers Union. And as Anna was saying, I went to Washington, D.C. because I was really frustrated to see the LFPA go away and the LFS, the local food procurement. What's that? LFPA, local food procurement. What's the last letter? Anyway, uh, can't think of it offhand, but it was an important program for us, and also to try to talk to some people about continuing the building of the infrastructure that the previous administration had been working on so hard, and how it had really started to show some signs of getting some momentum. And as we all said in Washington, D.C., we just felt like the rug had been pulled out from under us and
Mm.
it left us flat on the floor. So,
And so many farmers were left flat on the floor, had the rug pulled out from them at the last minute. Talk about the investments that you were making to reach those markets, and when you heard that those investments were pulled, it's so late in the process too, is devastating.
yeah. So, well, for us, we had just really discovered the LFPA. We'd been working with them for about a year, and we're starting to look at the LFS. And it was a great opportunity for us to work with Tommy Hexter, who's up in Grinnell, and get some of our fruits and fruits and vegetables and our meats into these uh, food pantries that are so desperate for things like ground beef, and for them to get really high quality ground beef. I mean, they were just beside themselves with joy to get it. And then I even had one, after the program was pulled, call me and say, when will you be bringing us more beef? And I had to tell her we aren't able to do it because the
Yeah.
program has been killed. So uh, that for us, it was huge, and to see all the work that is being done uh, by people who were so excited about growing the market for small and mid-sized farmers, and have it be grown locally, as opposed to sending all of our dollars out of state and out of country to these giant meat packing companies. It's really disheartening to see that go away.
That's so true. And you were joined by an Iowa delegation. We had all kinds of farmers in the group, and all of them were sharing a story about the brink of a crisis in farm country. Um, Part of the mission was to share where the situation stands, right? We talked about bankruptcies being up, commodity markets being down, production costs going up over the past decade, trade tensions, food prices still rising for consumers. Um, there really was uh, part of the event was to share about what the situations are on the ground. And Annie, you were able to share some personal stories about how that's you're seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my experience, I think some of what I will share echoes John's experience as well. We had been selling through the program since its inception, and our business had only been around a few years prior to that. So I often have been saying that we really didn't know a business or a business of our scale without the local food purchasing assistance program. And so we built our infrastructure with knowing that we had those wholesale markets. We scaled our herd knowing we had those wholesale outlets. And while we saw an anticipated end date potentially, I think it's important to clarify that we had been told by many officials that things should be moving forward, and so it really was a rug being pulled out from under us. We weren't just operating under a assumption that had not been confirmed by anyone. And so it's a huge transition to be able to move a portion of our product through wholesale outlets to really needing to have everything go direct to consumer, so direct to individual families. It's a lot more labor. And also it feels, for me, the last 8 months, it felt really important to also articulate that I really want to build a business that is selling to everyday people. And that looks like I really want our meat. I honestly feel nothing better than when our pork is at a food pantry, and when there's really high quality product going to people that everyday people, right? I loved, we were doing direct distribution, so handing out bags of our poultry at apartment complexes, talking to all sorts of people. And for me, that is the business that I want to run, and that is the business I want to build. And I love all my customers, and I want to continue to do that too. But it is the both, and it is being able to serve a diverse socioeconomic class of people. It is being able to scale to a point where we are a consistent supplier. It is offering this more decentralized version of livestock production, supporting our communities, all the things. And so for me, it's been trying to grapple with what it looks like to build a business that still holds those values when the federal support has been pulled, and also acknowledging that there is no institution big enough to fill that void. And so and that is an important role that the federal government can play. And so my own personal perspective and activism around this has really been focused on the need to reinstate that. And I see Beth's question about farmers being too dependent upon the government in this program and should be reliant on government funding. And I'll answer for myself. I think that given what our supply chains look like, and given that we are operating in a marketplace that is so deeply concentrated, I don't see a path forward without federal support, federal price support, to make it possible for mid-scale farms to sell into big institutions. And I think that price support and marketing support exists for all other types of farms. And I think that's important to acknowledge too when we look at federal support. Tiny piece of the pie, and we see our elected officials talking every day about the need for market building in other places. So that's my 2 cents.
After all, we're talking about food here, right? We're talking about food security, and it's such an essential piece of what we are as Iowans, to try to grow food to feed people around the world. Why shouldn't we build these structures to reach those communities with to build the entire food system in the right way? And you folks were so articulate going into our offices, Anna and John. And your first timers in the National Farmers Union fly-in. So how did it work for you? What was your experience in when you gathered with flying? We had about 250 farmers from around. Describe a little bit what the experience was like to prepare yourselves to get to carry that message into government agencies and into congressional offices.
Well, for myself, I remember My wife has gone once before me, and she said, "Prepare for this for the most frustrating day of your life." And I've said this to you before, but I never thought I would be the grumpy old farmer in the group. But I really felt like I felt almost openly hostile to some of the people who I felt were just blowing smoke at us. But I saw we had a question about what the responses were, but my one of my big questions was with the tariffs that are being imposed by the current administration and why the House and the Senate aren't doing anything about it. And I asked that question once or twice actually. Once I was told that well, there's just nothing we can do, and then by Senator Grassley, uh, he specifically said, well, I tried to introduce a bill, but it didn't work. So there's just nothing we could do. And it was pretty enraging because that's their entire job and that's their purview and they're giving it up. And it just feels like these self-inflicted wounds which are, I'm lucky that I'm raising beef right now and the beef prices are still high, but so many of our neighbors are just taking a kicking right now because they're losing anywhere from $1 to $3 a bushel on corn and soybeans as of now, and that harvest hasn't even come in. They're not even covering their costs of planting, and it feels like nobody's willing to do anything. So.
But we know our elected leaders are put there because they should be speaking with a loud voice about how important that is, and encouraging them to say what is the priorities for Iowa is important. And tell us about your preparation moving into working with the agencies. You visited the Department of Justice and our congressional offices. How is the preparation going leading into those visits?
Yeah, so like I said, I feel like I have been in close contact with many of my own representatives really since, I mean, before March, but really from March on. I think I felt like I took on a part-time job trying to share the story as much as possible. So, the positive side of that is names are familiar to me. I've exchanged emails with almost everyone's staffers back and forth. I had done a fly-in with the National Sustainable Ag Coalition the prior May. And so again, there was some familiarity with a few of the people in the overlap, which did make it helpful, even if they don't remember me, to be able to say, like, we've been in contact. I will be following up. I have your email. You've been out to my farm. And so I do think, there is some value in those long standing relationships. And then, like Aaron mentioned, I did have the opportunity to go to the Department of Justice. We had a larger meeting with the Assistant Attorney General, Gail Slater of the Antitrust Division. And so there was a lot of interesting questions asked around antitrust issues throughout the industry, from the consolidation we see in seed and fertilizer and meat packing. Obviously, farmers are experiencing the massive threats of consolidation. We've been experiencing them for a long time. Things appear to only be getting worse. So that was an interesting experience, certainly. And then for me, I also thought it was an interesting experience. We met with Grassley, just with him actually, in addition to his staff, met with Ernst in person too, in addition to her staff. We met with Zach Nunn in person as we chatted, as we walked down the hallway. So those were some different experiences for me. And again, those are offices that I've had a lot of contact with. So, putting a face to the name is maybe helpful. And, I definitely resonate with some of John's feelings. And I think for me have also really just narrowed in on this one piece of policy that I am really trying to push for. And so I kind of feel like I've been just laser focused on, can I move the needle? Can I be part of moving the needle in this one thing? So yeah.
And we are moving the needle, right? We've gotten bipartisan legislation introduced that could be the precursor to inclusion in the Farm Bill regarding reinstatement of funds with LFPA. That wasn't happening a couple months ago. It's happening now. There was a couple notes from our folks in the chat in the Q&A that they are that we're seeing more folks being outspoken only because they're hearing from farmers like John, like Anna, and the rest of our crew. So we are seeing that we're really making a difference out there. So and we are very grateful that we're able to do this together, right? It's one of the reasons that we work together is because as a group we can have a larger voice than we can as an individual. And so working together, we know we can amplify these things forward with us and the great team with the National Farmers Union folks. Talk about your interactions with the Iowa team and how that went for people who are considering whether to come in to fly in or not. Share about your group experiences with the Iowans and with people from around the country.
Well, I don't know. My interactions with like with Zach Nunn, we were walking and talking. He was very, he invited us along, which was great. As he went to go to vote, but I really felt it was kind of a lot of glad handing and smiling and nodding and yeah, that's a great idea. And you certainly weren't going to be able to take anything away from his walking down the hall talking real fast. At least I felt Senator Grassley was looking us in the eye and interested in what we or was willing to listen to what we had to say, even though he just said there wasn't really anything he could do. Joni Ernst, I felt like she's already on her way out and was just kind of there for the coffee and donuts and to shake some hands. But that's my the one person that and we didn't actually even speak to this representative, but it was a representative from New Jersey, a gentleman out there who's a Republican who seemed to be much more in line with what we had to say than any of our representatives. And that's a very purple state, and he, I'm sure, is aware that he's got to be willing to listen to a lot of different people. And I think that's why we need a purple state here, because we're only getting one side right now with our current administration, both in the state and in the federal government.
Well, and John, I know that sometimes these folks really need to hear the frustration that we're experiencing in Iowa because the situation is so dire.
They heard it from me. So.
But well, sure, but yet you overcame all that frustration, and Anna, you came with frustrations and felt it would make a real important priority for you to take time from the farm and to come to Iowa and to Washington D.C. and gather together with people around the country. What gives you optimism moving forward? What brought you enough optimism to bring you to Washington? Anna, tell us what makes you optimistic after having this visit.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I feel like I am so immensely privileged and lucky that I get to grow animals and have a business and be an entrepreneur. And so I feel like just an immense responsibility to, I don't know what the right word is. I was going to say, suck it up and fight, is really how I feel, of just like,
right.
Yeah, like I said, like I really feel very strongly that I want to build a business that feeds our community in diverse and interesting ways. And so I don't think that exists without political engagement. And so again, like if I get to spend, much of my time, with my pigs and experiencing this great joy and raising my child on the farm, and again, like having this immense privilege, like I also like I feel totally good, although tired. But I feel totally good that I will continue to have these long-standing relationships, and I will continue to push our legislators as far as I can push them, alongside obviously these groups like Iowa Farmers Union and the National Farmers Union. And I think we are making progress. Again, even if it is this one little area, I know firsthand that this one piece of policy could have immense impact on our rural communities and also on food security in Iowa. And so not willing to give up the fight. And it gives me, I feel kind of continuously energized that like, I just have a responsibility to keep pushing.
Absolutely. And that really translates into the dedication and service that so many our Iowa Farmers Union people feel and drive them. John, what brings you optimism to keep working, even though we have these frustrations with our current system, and what drives you to keep working at it?
Well, what gives me hope is how far we were able to come in, with during an administration that provided the LFPA and the LFS, and how many people out there are interested and excited, and how many, like, even of our customers who really want food from farms, directly from farms, from small and mid-sized farmers, because you're not going to drive up to a CAFO and have them bring a pig out to you. It's you're coming to a farm, small farmers, and that people really want that, and they're willing to fight for it. And and as much as frustrating as it was, I hope to go back, because it's just really important. It's just so important that we go and air our grievances and our ideas and get it out there, because we're small but mighty is what at least I'm hoping. So small but mighty.
And our other members who went on the trip gave us feedback too, that the inspiration they get is by drawing together people who share these values, and that see how important it is, and they're willing to work together and to get to know one another and learn from one another and share those stories. So lots of good reasons to be optimistic. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much, John, for taking time away from your farm, away from your family, to go to Washington, D.C., to share what's so important to you and to our organization. So we have a huge gratitude that we'd like to express to you and to John and to the other members of the Iowa delegation, Ryan Marquardt, Josh Mansky, Seth Watkins, Bob Ferguson, Doug Foreman, and Haley Summers. We made up the largest group of Iowans to come for this trip in a long time, and we are so grateful for your service, and we will lean on you because of the fantastic leadership you've shown for us. So again, Anna, and again, John, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Again, this is a function of the Iowa Farmers Union. My name is Aaron Lehman. I'm president of the Iowa Farmers Union, and I get the pleasure of sharing our Farmers Union stories through our weekly Lunch and Learn. And it is our outreach to our members and to the general public about what is important to our organization. We can only do this by working together. And if you haven't had a chance to join the Farmers Union, please do so today. It helps support all of our efforts to bring our voices to policy leaders in Des Moines and to Washington, D.C., and to make a real difference by working together. So if you haven't had a chance to become a member, if you haven't had a chance to become a supporter of the Iowa Farmers Union, do so today. We really appreciate it. Christina, thank you so much for bringing us all together. As always, we couldn't do it without you, and we are so grateful for you. And we will look forward to catching up with everyone at our next Lunch and Learn. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, John.
Thank you.